break into the glass box by shooting it and trying to pull it open, but the glass material is impenetrable.
Impenetrable. Impenetrable is a chick we can't get with.
That's what I said. I
am we need to, whenever we see hot chicks that are out of our league, we need to say she's impenetrable.
Yes. That'd be awesome.
At least by a normal man. At least by normal man or lesser man. I'm not really sure which we are, but somewhere around there.
Definitely not normal.
Yeah.
All right, so
Stram starts shouting to Hoffman.
Stram starts shouting at Hoffman, I know who you are.
Yeah, I bet he's real proud of himself there.
Yeah, I mean, because that helps anybody at all, right? Soon the walls come close enough for Stram to attempt to climb up the ceiling and escape the roof filter. However, it is too late, and he becomes slowly crushed by the walls while Hoffman watches Stram get crushed from down below. With all evidence planted to frame Stram for being the next Jigsaw accomplice, Hoffman is now able to continue his work as Jigsaw's surviving apprentice. Undetected, leaving the Jigsaw legacy pinpointed at Stram, who is in fact dead. It is also believed that Jigsaw's autopsy occurred after the events of Saw 5, giving new insight to Hoffman being the last man standing now that Stram is dead. Therefore, Hoffman is yet to be tested as promised by the tape found at the autopsy. The beginning and end of Saw 4 was not the setup for Saw 5, but presumably and hopefully Saw 6.
Yep. Well, Vic, I have to tell you, that ending, that was fucking disgusting. Oh, my God. They were showing his bones break. It is, I mean, if you just think about what happened to him, that is vile, nasty shit. And I think that might be the worst thing in this whole series so far, other than what Matthews did to his foot. But imagine doing it to your foot, to your whole fucking body. Ugh.
Yeah, man. Horrible, bro. Horrible.
That was some shit in Star Wars where it actually happens. See, there's a part in Star Wars where they get stuck in a dumpster and almost get crushed like this, but in this, it actually happens, and it is nasty. I think this is a sweet fucking ending of the movie. You want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
I really feel like every one of these movies have a good ending. You know what I mean? 3's ending was probably the weakest out of all of them, but I think this one's really good. Is it better than 4 as far as the ending goes? Yeah, I like it better. I mean, I know you get the reveal of Hoffman in 4, but I like this one better just because he fucking outsmarted him. Let's start talking about something that we really haven't talked about yet in this series. We got to kind of like set aside logic a little bit, because if you think Hoffman's able to pull off most of this shit, especially after Jigsaw's dead, which technically I guess he could be using his own creations and all that shit. But, you know, to think that Hoffman's smart enough to kind of run this thing by himself, I don't buy it. You know what I mean? But that's kind of don't think about horror too hard. You just kind of have to, you know, pretend for the best. But Hoffman is awesome in the role. I like him a lot. I like him better than all the other characters in this movie. Stram, fuck him. I'm glad he got killed, and I'm glad Jeff got killed in the last one. It makes me so happy to see bums getting killed off. I think this is a good movie. I think the whole trap thing where everybody had to work together was kind of cool. Most of those scenes weren't really too bad. I think the torture porn, other than the ending, was a little less this time around. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, it's just for the whole being trapped in the water thing, but that's just a personal thing to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but that's a lot of people. It's not just you. So, but it was gross to have him stab himself in the neck. That was pretty fucking foul. You know what? I'll give this one a 3 also. I don't know. I think Saw 4 was better overall, the movie, because this one was like all flashbacks. You know, there was flashbacks in 4. But this was like a lot of flashbacks. I think that's the issue that people have with this movie, is a lot of this movie is flashbacks. But I still think it's really good and better than Saw 3. and about as good as Saw 4. It's not anywhere near as good as 2 or 1. So 3 for me. 3 out of 4 machetes for this bad boy. So back-to-back 3s for me, which was an improvement over Part 3, so which was a 2.5 for me.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll. First of all, like you said, people either seem to really like this movie or really hate it. I don't hate it. I'm more in the really like it category, I guess. I definitely like it better than 3, and parts of it I like better than 4. I mean, because it really played on my fears more so than any of the other ones have, because, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
if there's something I'm watching that makes me feel uncomfortable, then that makes that movie better than me. And that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, but when it all comes down to it, like, I mean, the gore wasn't up to par with the last couple or the last few or whatever, which is always a sad thing to me. Jill don't show her boobs, which is a sad thing to me. But in the end, we agree again. I give it a 3. It's a higher 3. It's a higher 3 than Part 4, but they're both 3s nonetheless. They're still, I mean, they're pretty much even to me. They're both better than Part 3, and 4 and 5 are pretty much on par for me for watching them today for the first time back to back. I mean, I thought they were both good, man. They're both great installments to the series, I think.
You know, Vic, before we had started this whole thing, I mean, I could tell you it was in Part 3, I could tell you it was in Part 2, and I could tell you it was in Part 1, but 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, well, not 7 so much, because there's some obvious differences in that one, but like, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one's 4 and which one's 5 and which one's 6, really. You know what I mean? I don't remember which one's which, because they're all kind of the same. So that's just kind of a preview of what's coming in Part 6. It's a lot like 4 and 5, which is not a bad thing. I mean, if you want a pretty good torture porn, you're going to get that from 4 and 5, and you'll get it from 6 probably. We're going to watch it again and find out. But, you know, it's kind of weird with the series. Like, it just kind of, it's more of the same, but more of the same is a good thing, you know? I feel like that's where, like, movies like Friday the 13th got off track. They were like, we need to do something different. No, you don't. It's successful as it is. This is where this series succeeds. You know, they realize what works and they keep doing it.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's working because you see what they're bringing in with every single movie. You know what I'm saying? So whatever they're doing is working. It had America on in, you know what I'm saying, every October waiting for it to come out.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously they were successful. It did well. And we have not had a horrible movie of the bunch. And, you know, the worst one was a 2.5 so far. So that's a hell of a fucking series, 1 through 5. I mean, okay, so I like Friday the 13th Part 5, but a lot of people shit on that movie. I don't think there's one in this series that you could totally shit on so far. You know, Halloween 5's not so great. I mean, it has its moments, but you can shit on that if you want to. Nightmare on Elm Street by Part 5, it's not so great. Fucking Chainsaw is not even a series by Part 5, it's a remake by then, you know? I mean, it really is. Your Part 5's a remake. I mean, that's weird, but it's true.
Yeah. And Part 6 is a prequel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the weirdest series of the bunch, I think. But I don't know, Halloween's pretty strange too. And then again, so is Friday the 13th. It's the only one they threw his ass into space like he's Leprechaun or some shit, or Hellraiser. They made his ass lower in. As long as we don't get Jigsaw in space, we're good to go. But yeah, man, this series has been excellent so far, I think. You know, it is, once you get to the point of 3, 4, or 5, you know, you're just doing torture porn. But I like torture porn, so I'm good with it. I just like the adventures of Detective Hoffman at this point. I think he's awesome, by the way. I really do. I think he does a good job in the role. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would have been okay with more Shawnee Smith in this series, but I'm okay with the fact that we get Hoffman instead, you know, just because he's more menacing.
Yeah, I do love me some Shawnee Smith, though.
I mean, how could you not? But at least we get some Jill, Jigsaw's wife, so we got that.
Very true.
Good stuff all around. Well, as promised, I went to Orlando over the last, 5 days. So the first day I was there, I went, and as you can see on our Facebook, I was at Universal Horror Nights in Orlando, and it was fucking badass, especially the trick-or-treat scare zone. For those of you who have not seen yet, go to facebook.com/Travis and Vic Horror, I think it is, or just look up Travis and Vic's Drunken Horror Adventures. You should like our page already if you're listening. Jesus Christ. But I posted live video of my walkthrough the Trick or Treat Scarefest, which features cameos by the principal who loved me, and he took a selfie with me. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Dude, you can't get anybody else in there to do selfies with you usually. They'll stop for a second, but Sam will just try to run through you. He'll just ignore you.
That's
he didn't give a fuck. The werewolves took pictures with me. But yeah, the principal, he was sitting there with Fat Kid throwing up, which I think he hits a button and the Fat Kid throws up. The trick-or-treating retards were there. There were 3 different Sams. Only one of them was moving around. No, 2 of them were moving around because there was another one that looked kind of like a zombie Sam. It was sweet. There were 2 that were posted up in trees that weren't real, but they were cool. Cool as fuck. There were werewolves walking around. You had Snow White, Cinderella, Little Bo Peep, and Little Red Riding Hood. That was cool. You had Mr. Krieg from next door. He's the one, I fucked with him, Vic, right? So Mr. Krieg, what's he hate?
Do what?
What does Mr. Krieg, the neighbor, hate?
I don't know what.
He hates Halloween, remember?
Yeah, he's an asshole, though.
So I told him, Happy Halloween, just like the principal did. And, he said to me, he's like, oh, he started, grumbling at me. He's like, oh, nice shirt. Because I was wearing the trick-or-treat shirt, he got excited. He marked out for my shirt. Yeah. So, yeah, the principal and Mr. Krieg was funny. But I walked through the trick-or-treat scare zone, no joke, at least 10 times.
Did you really?
Yeah, at one point I got a turkey leg with my wife, and we just sat there and watched it all. It was amazing. Did you see all the fucking lights and the pumpkins and everything? Tell me that did not feel like Halloween, just like the movie. It was so well done.
Dude. It looked awesome.
It is so amazing. It just sucks that this is next year they won't have it. So it's not like you can go do it again.
Well, that sucks. I want to go.
I know they'll have something else,
Yeah.
All right. So I also went and saw The Shining haunted house. That was really cool. Basically, you just got a bunch of scenes from the movie. Same deal with The Shining or with Saw. You just had a bunch of different traps and stuff. My wife wasn't too impressed with Saw, but I think because she didn't like the movies that much, which she's wrong, or she's just not into that. But she likes Shining a lot. And I would have gone to Ash vs. Evil Dead, and I would have gone to a bunch of other places, but we had the flight that morning, and we were just fucking exhausted by then. But they did have a bunch of characters walking around, like Bagul from Sinister. He was walking around. You had some people from American Horror Story walking around. I don't think I saw Twisty. There were a bunch of clowns riding around on bikes and shit. And then The Purge, Vic. This was badass.
Yes.
Did you watch that video? Did you watch that video?
God. Yes, it was so awesome.
Yeah, so around the Purge area, you had a bunch of people from the movies, wearing freaky masks and shit and walking around with weapons and just scaring the fuck out of people. But then just randomly, we're walking along, and all of a sudden you just hear, trucks and horns beeping and chainsaws revving up. And out of this street comes a truck, multiple trucks, a motorcycle, multiple motorcycles, and people with chainsaws. 50 people with chainsaws just walking down the street. And it was everybody's like, holy fuck, and everybody's just running away. It was so awesome, dude. So good.
Yeah, dude. It looked so good. I wish I could have been there for it.